Hey guys, this is Caspi with Tape, and today you join me for another Collaborative Warfare extra video. Yes, I've been doing a few of these recently because Collaborative Warfare slows occasionally, and because I don't have anything to record. But yeah, this is something I've actually been working on for a very long time. You may have heard me mention I've had a lot of problem with hover stuff in the past. When I tried to build hovering boats, because that's the best way to make things move in KSP before 1.0.5, and in the Collaborative Warfare we are still stuck in the previous update because of Kerbal inside. So yeah, something we can't possibly remove because it makes it Collaborative Warfare. Anyway, but yeah, I've pretty much cracked it at this point. The thing is what you want to do is you want to put these hover pods above the center of mass. Don't know why that never occurred to me, because it's better to pull something to push something, because this naturally stabilizes itself. As if you imagine the center of mass is below where it's being held up from, i.e. the hover pods. If it sways off to one side, then it'll naturally just pull itself back to the middle, whereas if they're below, it'll just naturally tip over and die and explode, which was something I was having a lot of problems with. But yeah, this is my Corvette, and you're probably thinking that doesn't look anything like a sports car, and you would be right, it doesn't look a lot like a sports car. Now, a Corvette, for those of you who don't know, who I'm sure there are many of you who know much more about boats and shit than me, because I don't know a lot. I'm just a bit of a... I like looking at Wikipedia pages about boats and planes and shit. I don't know, I'm very lame. Anyway, yeah, a Corvette is basically just like a really light war boat. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's smaller than a frigate, but larger than a sloop. Not that we use sloops anymore. But yeah, so this is relatively lightly armed, and you may be thinking it's actually pretty heavily armed. It's got all these big missiles here, and all of these little missiles here, and all of these medium-sized missiles here, and a big old flat cannon, and a big old howitzer, and some of these chain guns. Yeah, okay, it's quite heavily armed, but for various different tasks. So I'm going to talk through the weapons, because this is already quite a high-energy video, so I've kind of lost my train of thought. Okay, so it has these turrets on the side, and it should have one on the front, but I forgot to put it there. Those are for shooting down little boats that might attack me, such as hydrofoils or penguins, cetos. Yeah, so that's what those are for. It has these cruise missiles for shooting from long range, from very far away, out of physics distance, because that's allowed, because cruise missiles are surprisingly ineffective. Although I don't think guard mode works against shooting down cruise missiles, except with flares, but we'll demonstrate that a little bit in a minute. And then we've got these two guns up front, the anti-aircraft gun, the flat cannon, and this howitzer. And I spent a lot of time trying to get it like this, because this looks almost like, I guess, boats would be, like attack boats would be, corvettes and frigates and such. You get these kind of big decks, and then there's layered guns, kind of on the bridge sort of thing, if you know what I mean. If you've ever seen a boat, it looks vaguely like this. And yeah, these are mounted on the bridge. The bridge consists pretty much of this control pod, which is basically useless, and a bunch of ammo in the weapons room. And there are some... oh no, the generators are actually below decks. But yeah. And at the front there are various missiles. Quite a decent amount of Hellfire missiles and a few Sidewinder missiles. This is the main reason I'd call this a Corvette, not say a frigate or a cruiser sort of thing, is because it's got actually a pretty light payload. Say if I was attacking boats, it's got pretty much, I guess, like a decent sized bomber's worth of missiles, and then obviously the cruise missiles as well. And yeah, the howitzer, you may be thinking, why didn't you use the big tank cannon that can rotate more? Because I'll demonstrate that the howitzer actually isn't super turny. Actually, I have these set up with action groups. Good job, me. Yeah, because this pretty much has a very small field view, and the tank cannon can turn all around. Yeah, basically this is too small for that, so if I built something like a frigate, much bigger, it would probably have room for that. But this is but a Corvette, so this is more of a forward attack weapon for, say, attacking other boats, and it can fire off shells. I have about 50, I have exactly 50 cannon shells on this boat. It's a ship. Although it doesn't have any... you couldn't really put a boat on deck, so it's pretty much a boat. But obviously, because of the missile pods, it's quite hard to fire forward. However, you actually can. But I think it might skip off my things. So yeah, there's that. And other things. What am I doing? That's not the right button! Ooh. It's fine, that was just the hover pods accidentally activated. Obviously the flat cannon, cruise missiles, blah 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 blah. Also, the missiles, they turn-ish. I've put them on rotatrons so I can turn them. So if I was attacking from the side, I can do this. And I can invert them so they point the other way so they can have multiple areas of, you know, denial. This one's tilted up slightly more than the one in front, just so it can fire over it more easily. But yeah, it's pretty much just boat. Underneath, it's pretty much just a bunch of non-scaled up air fuselages, few RTGs, and some ammo not in the ammo room. What the dickens? It's powered by 4 engines, 4 jet engines, and it hovers, obviously. But before I demonstrate its speed and its hoverness, I'm just going to fire some missiles at this other Corvette that I have over here. I just kind of wanted to demonstrate the cruise missiles. I was going to do a full attack run, but it's quite laggy, and I didn't really set that up properly, so you will forgive me if I don't do a full boat battle, but no doubt there will be some coming up in Collaborative Warfare itself, or maybe I'll make a separate video. I keep accidentally turning these on more. Drop back into the water, you fool. Alright, so cruise missiles is what I want. We'll fire just loads and then follow them in. So, cruise missiles away. These are the ones with the boosters. So there goes 6, half of my cruise missile payload. So cruise missiles are pretty useful because it means you can basically shell things. Obviously they're not actually shells, but it has that same effect, like a really long range defense thing. I wonder if I can switch to the other Corvette and turn on the guard mode, because it doesn't have it on because I just didn't think about it. Oh, wrong Corvette. Maybe if I go this way... I think we're getting into range now. Wrong Corvette. Just let me go to the other Corvette. Ooh, game's lagging, probably going to crash. Oh no, good job. Yeah, I have noticed actually that the guard mode doesn't really work with cruise missiles, so it's probably pointless anyway, so we'll just follow them in and watch it die. That's something we should probably bring up, but they're also not particularly effective, and I have seen when Twitchy has attacked Agonarch, the flares have worked very effectively. So, cruise missiles are actually quite limited in what they're really capable of, but they can be quite useful for just maybe softening up defenses before you come in. So say if I was attacking another boat, I could fire some cruise missiles and maybe take off a gun or make it less able to defeat me, because it's actually quite hard to do boat combat. I have tried it a couple of times, but I usually just get wiped out by a Hellfire missile. That was actually when I was trying it with maritime parts, but the problem with maritime parts is they explode quite easily, so I've built mine all out of metal, because metal is actually pretty resistant to missile strikes. But yeah, it's also useful to have a big gun and obviously air defenses. So I think a navy could be quite useful. I know everyone else has been working on theirs. Penguin's Cetos look quite cool and seem pretty effective. Lots of lag now. That's because there's various BD Armory things scanning for missiles and such. But yeah, these do this kind of weaving pattern, I guess, not to be shot down, but they never seem to get shot down anyway. So yeah, it's cool how low they come in as well. I probably should have put some flares on that Corvette. I did actually get the Corvette into the water totally legitimately because it uses hover pods. It's okay at traversing land, and here we go. Let's see how effective these really are. It looks pretty deadly, but actually that frame makes it look surprisingly okay. So yeah, that's also a pretty good demonstration of how resistant this is to missiles. So what damage do we have? It's actually all still intact. It's got some shattered decking here. It's destroyed most of the weapons capabilities. It looks actually as if it's knocked off the howitzer and destroyed the weapon room. It still has its cruise missiles and its flak cannon, so this is still battle capable. But I wouldn't particularly... Oh, and it's still got its turrets. And I imagine since, yeah, these bullets are below deck. So yeah, that's actually pretty good. I'm surprised. But yeah, I did. If you had flares on it, it might even miss. I might put some flares on this boat. Ship, sorry. Anyway, let's load up this to take a quick save. I hope it won't explode, but there's a heavy chance it will explode in the ocean. So you know, prepare for that. Just watching my boat explode. Prepare for the explosion. Surprising. Anyway, I just want to show you how fast this can go. I'm sorry, this hasn't. You're probably hoping for a giant boat battle, and I think I might do that in a different video, but I think that might actually happen anyway. It's just I have to make this quite quickly. I'm actually pretty busy tonight, so there wasn't really time. But I have tried it before, Actually against, I think probably this Corvette, yeah. It's pretty effective. I think it. Oh no, I was trying a different boat, the one with the maritime pack, and it got taken out by a Hellfire missile, and it pretty much just ripped right through it. And actually, at long range, it is quite hard to hit with a howitzer or a tank cannon, any cannon pretty much. Maybe the flat cannon if I kept firing, but the flat cannon isn't particularly effective against armor, because it's more kind of area of explosive sort of thing. But obviously I could fire off some Hellfire missiles and probably just do the sort of cruise missile thing. But yeah, as I was saying just before we watched my other Corvette explode, I have seen the effectiveness of the other nations' navies. I know Penguin has actually been focusing quite a bit on navy. He's got his Poseidons, those giant defense boats. They don't really have any range, but they're pretty deadly. I have taken one on before. It was pretty horrible. He also has Cetos, actually, which are kind of quite similar to this, actually. Quite boxy hover boats. I've seen them. I don't think they've really done anything yet, but they look. I think they're quite lightly armed. I would imagine they'd probably be Corvettes as well. I don't really have a name for this yet. I probably will come up with some sort of fancy name. But yeah, Agonarch and Twitchy have had a bit of a kind of sea battle. I mean, their crafts are never quite as kind of real worldy as ours. But I know Twitchy's been using his breaded ganaches and shredded galashes and all of those, which are just pretty much. They look less like actual boats, which I strive for because I just like that sort of stuff. But yeah, they seem to be pretty effective, so I thought I should probably throw my hat in. And since these count as a ground launch, I could actually technically launch two of these in a turn. So in, say, a couple of turns, I could launch a proper strike group if I was willing to put up with the lag of an aircraft carrier, probably a couple of corvettes and a frigate. That's probably how I'd do it. I'm working on aircraft carriers. I think I might make them with the maritime parts, just because they do have really cool runways. But their connections are a bit shitty. Also, maritime parts have a tendency to just explode in the water. But yeah, anyway, more onto this boat, since this is pretty much my first sort of thing. I haven't talked through everything yet, but you can see I'm getting a decent amount of speed with these 4 engines, because it's not actually in the water. I'm getting about 70 meters a second, and it can time accelerate. All of the control is actually managed. I don't think I have any reaction wheels on here other than like the drones and things, because I'm actually using these QuizTech air thrusters, which provide 10 kilonewtons of thrust. They're used to slow the craft down at the front here. They're used to rotate the craft, and they're used to keep it you can see they're working right now. Back here, they're used underneath the craft to keep it kind of stable in the up and down direction, so it doesn't roll over or flip up. And yeah, they just run on air, so that I have infinite control of them, so I don't have to have extra fuel for them. But yeah, and I imagine this. I don't know, how far can this plane go? This boat go? Let's figure it out right now. So we have 5,600 units of fuel. Say it took me that much to. We'll call it 57. Say it took 80 units to get out of port. So we have 57 units of fuel divided by 0.63, which gives me a large number, and then we times that by how fast am I going? 68.5. And that gives me 600, pretty much 620,000 meters, which is about 620 kilometers. That's not great, obviously. I think that can't be right. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, that's actually not a fantastic range. I thought it was much higher. Let me just check my math on that again. Divided by 0.63. Times by, we'll call it 69 just because it's probably going to get faster as it lightens up. Yeah, and that gives us 600 divided by 1,000. Yeah, 600 kilometers. That's terrible. But I could obviously bulk it up with fuel. It would go a little slower, but it would be much longer range, and this is only the first earlier prototype. I actually thought it was a little better than that. I think it was when I had 2 engines on it, it went much further, I guess, because it went almost. Didn't go much slower. It went less than 4 times slower and used obviously half the fuel. So yeah, I would like to increase the range so I can have a proper strike range, but yeah, that is the boat. I'm going to stop talking now because I've talked about it for a very long time. I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope you found it relatively interesting. And I hope you are looking forward to actual sea battles, which I'm sure will take place because these can be very effective. And, you know, the cruise missiles, that was fun. That was fun, right, guys? We had a good time. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you're looking forward to some collaborative warfare. Should be another video pretty soon, as people are busy, you know, shit happens. But yeah, I'll see you next time.